Jimmy Pitaro and ESPN have now made it open season. There has never been a time where Jimmy Pitaro the world more. It's finally doing what I said he was going to do. You got to give in to Stephen A. Smith. Try doing that. White women can't do it. Hell, half and half. I get the point. I do. But could you imagine having to sit there and listening to that? Couldn't do it. Jimmy Pitaro at ESPN is finally doing what I said he was going to do. You got to give in to Stephen A. Smith. You created a monster very dumbly. You're overpaying Smith. Let's face it, his show doesn't bring in that much revenue, as I've come to find out. Nobody really pays attention to him when he's on a set of anything. It's a bad business deal. But Smith is out there talking politics, and Jimmy Pitaro, basically the guy, the CEO, the chairman of ESPN, is saying it's good. Of course he's saying it's good. There is nothing more than these white guys at ESPN. Nothing more they want less. Oh, I don't even know how I said it right. Nothing they want less than be called racist, sexist by the African-American crowd at ESPN. What are they going to say? No, we can't let Stephen A. Smith do that. They created a ridiculous monster, and Smith's pretty good at politics, by the way. They're not mad at Smith appearing on political shows. It's not going to help Smith with the sports fan. Literally, and I mean this literally, not a soul turns in to get his opinion on anything. Or that's not true. Not enough souls tune in. When he's on the desk at ESPN, people go, how does this guy know anything about basketball, football, whatever? He doesn't. But he's got his own show. He's got his own niche. He's African-American, and he's really, really pretty good politically. He goes whichever way. Well, he goes common sense, and I can get down with that. While speaking with Front Office Sports, it was a tuned-in event Tuesday, Pitaro was asked what it's like managing talent like Smith, what it's like managing talent like Pat McAfee. Here's what he had to say on the matter.
Is it a challenge to manage people like Pat McAfee or Stephen A. Smith, who, as I said, are outspoken, have a lot of opinions, but also have their own production company, so they have a little bit of independence too?
Look, it's the world is changing, the industry is changing, right? And so we need to adapt. Someone like Stephen A., I get this question all the time, he's not exclusive to ESPN anymore, and he's doing his podcast, and he's on talk shows all of the time, political talk shows. Look, we actually believe at ESPN that the fan is sophisticated, and they understand that when Stephen is doing his podcast or he's on a political talk show, he's not speaking on behalf of or representing ESPN. We believe that the fan gets that. I would also say, Mike, again, going back to my point before on Rising Tide, if Stephen is building out his brand, on other platforms, we believe at ESPN that it's going to be beneficial, for example, for First Take, and that more people are going to tune in. So yes, I will acknowledge that this is a very different world. This is very different than ESPN 10, 20 years ago. This is not the kind of thing that we did. But we believe the pros far outweigh the cons of licensing in shows, of entering into a non-exclusive agreement with someone like Stephen A. And look, we talk with both Pat and Stephen regularly. We have open communication where we're giving feedback constantly. And to both of their credit, they listen. And they want to help us be better. They want to help us improve our ratings.
Hey, white guys at ESPN, try it. Try it. Come on, white guys. Try it. Try being a white guy or try being a Republican and speaking out. This is such bullshit. Hey, it ain't that different from a year ago where you got your ass sued and you lost money to Sage Steele. It ain't that freaking long ago where we all sat around and watched. Hey, white guy, hey, Seth Greenberg, try it, baby. No, seriously. No, try it. Try speaking out about Republican views. Try speaking out about conservative views. No, do it. This is the biggest bunch of bullshit that I have ever heard from a guy. These guys at ESPN all look the same. David Seisler, Jimmy Pitaro, they're all these little skinny East Coast guys that oh man, they use words. They're full of shit. Please, God, try. Seth, Fran Fraschilla is the smartest political historian at ESPN. I mean, that's not saying much. I mean, you got Monica McNutt and Ryan Clark and what? That little bald-headed black girl. I mean, you got idiots there, right? So it's not like this is a big deal. But the truth of the matter is, try it, white guy. Try it, conservative guy. Hey, man, it's great. Stephen A. Smith, we're scared to death of him. No, man, we're scared to death of him. This is complete and total bullshit. There has never been a time where Jimmy Pitaro bullshitted the world more. Ever. Ever. Sage Steele made one comment, gone. Samantha Ponder, gone. Ashley Brewer, hottest girl on TV. Hottest woman on TV, gone, liked something. But now, of course, well, we hope it enhances their brand. Try it, white guy. White dude at ESPN. Try it. So many of you white dudes at ESPN that have, well, first, you've all shut up because you know there are nothing. You think you've seen a crazy fat white woman, liberal white woman at a freaking PTA meeting? Nothing like the crazy-ass white women. And they're not as crazy as the black women at ESPN. Black women are unbelievable. It's just ridiculous. I can't even tell you. But white women ain't no different. And everybody at ESPN, and we all know this. I mean, I got a billion friends there. Everybody at ESPN that doesn't share Jimmy Pitaro or Stephen A. Smith, Stephen's in the middle, which is good. He better not go too far. Even he would have a problem. What a bunch of shit. Oh, my God. Jimmy Pitaro is so full of shit. Now I'm getting pissed. Now, I don't want to be pissed, Mom. I don't want to be pissed. My mom's getting out of the hospital today. I don't want to get pissed off, Mom. What a bunch of Hey, white guy, try it. Well, you know, I'm going to go on Fox News and talk about, I think Charlie Kirk's a great guy, blah, blah. Oh, you'd get called in so fast. Middle-aged white guy, try it. Even hipster doofus, hot bubble-headed bleach blonde, Ashley Brewer, she gone. Are you crazy? You got to be out of your ever-loving mind to believe this complete crock of bullshit. Jimmy Pitaro is a fraud. He's full of crap. All these guys I learned that climb the ladder at ESPN, they're all the same. Oh, our team. They're so soft. They all speak alike. It's like they went to go see this guy that supposedly helps talent, Schlotsky or something. And they all learned this is a crock of shit. I didn't think I'd get this fired up today. I'm having a nice day. But this really, can you imagine if Seth Greenberg, 65, whatever-year-old man, started going on conservative political talk shows? He'd be gone so fast, there would be such a load of bullshit. That's why Jay Billis, you never hear him doing this. He loves his job. He goes plays golf. He don't mess around with this. He's smarter than all these guys. He's more conservative. You don't ever hear him, do you? Of course not. Can't speak. I don't care. Bill is getting a little older. Maybe getting a little tired. Like, hey, man, at some point, maybe he will speak. I don't know. But, man, is this a bunch of bullshit. For context, Smith signed a 5-year, $100 million extension with ESPN in March that allows him to appear on outside talk shows without the network's approval. He's now a regular on News Nation's Cuomo and makes frequent appearances on Hannity, Real Time, Bill Maher this week. And today he'll launch a weekly political and cultural program on Sirius XM Poitus channel. Try it, white guy. Try doing that. White women can't do it. Hell, half and half. Sage Steele can't do it. That was her words, not mine. She couldn't even, post something. But now, well, if it enhances their brand, blah, 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 blah. Try it. Pat McAfee, try it. Pat McAfee can get away with criticizing his bosses, but if he starts getting political to the right, he gone. Nah, he gone. They'll figure it out. Pitaro's stance also raised internal issues. 17, he told reporters that ESPN personalities should avoid politics unless tied to sports. He's already faced much-deserved criticism for selectively enforcing the rules, suspending Sage Steele for violating it while allowing Al Duncan to praise Obama's old lady on the air. Now he's championing Smith's public appearances. This will never backfire. Political appearances. This will never back. They got good games. Look, I think we can all pretty much agree that if you turn on ESPN in the morning, it's background noise. I don't think anybody really goes to see what old Greeny has to say. I don't think so. I think maybe we go to see what Rex Ryan will say. I guarantee you Rex Ryan had to have a phone call from somebody because he offended one of the little girls at ESPN's favorite sons, Mike McDaniels. I guarantee, I bet you money I know how this, don't even tell me, because if he changed, if Patero changed, then he changed within the last month. Because I got texts right here from people going, holy shit. Tom Luginbill, try it. Try getting political, Tom Luginbill. No, try, will ya? That'd be some funny shit. He would be gone so fast. Well, blah, 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 blah. These dudes are full of shit, and I'm so glad I'm gone. True, Smith and Clay Travis debated at the front office sports event. Here's Smith's comments on if sports are becoming more political.
Have sports really become more political than ever, or are you guys making it so?
I think we're making it so to some degree. That's not to say that there isn't politics involved. There's politics involved in everything, and we understand that. I just think that when you look at the conscientious observers that exist within professional sports, well, compare that to the 60s, compare that to the 70s. They were far more conscientious back then than they are now. I think that there was a natural inclination back in the day to be more assertive and forthcoming about your opinion, your beliefs, et cetera, because we were devoid of civil rights. Obviously, civil rights legislation came into effect in 1965, and even in the aftermath of that, it was still a struggle. If you listen to the James Browns of the world, the Bill Russells of the world, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was formerly Lou Alcindor of the world, and people like that I've spoken to over the years, this is what they've said. Whereas in today's day and age, with the exorbitant amount of dollars that exist, that these players are earning a lot more often than not, you see a reluctance for folks to get involved until your community is in your face, compelling you to speak up and speak out about issues that you may, at that particular moment in time, be detached to because you're no longer as connected to your community as you like to believe and you like to disseminate to the masses. And because of that, feeling that compelling feeling, you see a lot of guys coming out and speaking out. But the natural instinct to do so now, from what I've been told by those back in the day, didn't measure up to what it was back then.
Yeah, I can't listen to that shit. I mean, I know I'm supposed to. I know I am. And good for them for debating. I give Clay Travis and the moderator and everybody around great credit for just listening to. I don't even know what he said. I just don't listen. I have no interest in listening to what he says because, number one, he talks too much. He just does. And number two, I don't know whether he's telling the truth. I spoke to these guys. Who cares? I mean, seriously. But I give Clay Travis great credit for having to sit there and listening to the rambling stupidity. And it's not stupidity, so I'm unfair there. To the ramblings. It's like you go to a dinner party and one, old lady starts talking and it doesn't stop. That happened to me last dinner party I went to. I told my wife, I'm never going again, at least at that house. I couldn't imagine having to sit there every day and listen to Stephen A. Smith. I couldn't. And maybe he makes great points. Maybe he does. That's wonderful. He came on my show one time in Indy, and he just rambled. And finally, I'm like, hey, thanks. He called back to my producer, why didn't we talk about the Pacers? And I took the phone. I said, because you went too long on stupid shit. I mean, honest to God, good for him. Blah, 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 in the 60s. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Talking about the 60s now, I just want to tell you this. Talking about the 60s. Now, think about 1965. That's 35 plus 25. That's 60 years. That would be like in 1980 talking about the 20s. In 1990 talking about the 30s. In 2000 talking about the 40s. Honest to God. And that's the shit he brings up. Good for him. I get the point. I do. But could you imagine having to sit there and listening to that? Couldn't do it. I mean, Molly Quirum's made a lot of money. Apparently she's bitching, whining, moaning. She's not making enough. Oh, shut up. You had the easiest job in America. Anyway, but Actually, it's the hardest job in America. You got to sit there and listen to this idiot. And then they bring on other village idiots like Damian Woody, Dan Orlovsky. No, it's unbelievable. Hey, this episode, it's just so funny listening to Jimmy Patera. He's got hand motions and he's, got all that effeminate shit going. It's unbelievable. It really is. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. I got paid again last night. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this season. Yeah, make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money on Prize Picks. I do it every day now. I'm kind of hooked. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of us, and I'm one of us. Millions of us users sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code DAKICH to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DAKICH to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We've got another max discount for you today I want to bring to your attention. This coming Sunday, the 21st, Patrick Mahomes more than 0.5 passing yards. That's right. If Mahomes gets a yard, you win. Pretty good. Man, is that funny. I can't get over Jimmy Patera, though. That is so funny. He sits there. I'm watching this video of him, and it's the funniest stuff ever. It really is. Many people are making a big deal over the Monday Night Football coverage of Tom Brady's involvement with the Las Vegas Raiders. Brady is both a minority owner of the Raiders and a national analyst for Fox, and due to this, people inside the league are worried about conflict of interest. Of course there is. Who cares? You guys are dumb enough at Fox, I love Fox, to think that Brady, before he ever announced a game, would be a good announcer. He is average at best, offers no insight. He's vanilla as hell. But he's Tom Brady, arguably the worst human being in sports. Go back and watch that roast and go back and watch what Tom Brady said, what people were saying about him in a joking manner. But, man, he's a rotten human being. Arguing Brady could gather inside information such as having access to game plan strategy, scouting that could unfairly benefit the Raiders. I'd feel the same way. There's nothing wrong with feeling this way. They should. But everybody made a deal with the devil. Oh, my God, it's Tom Brady. So we got to give him $30 million a year to bore us. If I'm anybody playing against the Raiders, I'm pissed off about this. This is not necessary. First, you can get a bag of sand to do what Tom Brady does in the booth. He doesn't give you anything interesting. Second, of course it's a conflict of interest. Brady was restricted, no attendance at other teams' practices, facilities, excluded from production meetings, especially ones involving game plan or opponents. Recently, though, the NFL has raised some eyebrows. Here's a little bit of a discussion on Brady.
We've got a special member of the Raiders ownership group here today, and that's Tom Brady, who is in the house and is with the coaches box tonight. I was wondering how much Brady really had an involvement with this team. We hear so much about Brady as the owner. Chip Kelly told us that he talks to Brady 2 to 3 times a week. They go through film, they go through the game plan, and Brady is a luxury for the coaches. Who else has an owner who's actually been there and done that?
Hey, do we have it pinned up on Twitter?
Right there. Now, Chip Kessie uses them as a resource every single week.
Yep, why wouldn't you? Think about the advantage. Chip Kelly saying 2 to 3 times a week I could call Tom Brady, hey, what do I do in double A gap pressure versus this defensive coordinator? Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, talked about in the first preseason game, they struggled to tackle. Brady sent him a text, figure it out fast. So it seems he's very involved.
That was, by the way, the worst broadcast that they've ever had on ESPN because it was 3 guys just talking their own thing. There was no interaction. Louis Riddick is impossible. He's like Jalen Rose was. Impossible to be a teammate because he's trying to get a job, not in broadcasting, in football. And he was horseshit at the one he had. My boy Ryan Grigson worked with him. He's like, man. During his post-game availability after the Raiders fell 20-9 to the Chargers, Pete Carroll was pressed about Brady's ongoing talks with Kelly and swiftly rejected the idea. Like, all right, now let's understand. Pete Carroll is one of the biggest liars in the history of professional sports. He's a great guy. Everybody loves him. But let's understand, Pete Carroll is a liar. Pete Carroll lied, and he's a chicken shit in the fashion of Jim Harbaugh. Cheat your ass off, lie about it, go to the NFL. So what Pete Carroll says, at least to me, maybe not to you, doesn't hold any water. Here's Carroll.
There was a report that Tom Brady meets 3 times a week or so with Chip Kelly, goes over film with him. We saw him up in the booth with a headset on. I just was curious your thoughts on that level of participation with Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. That's not accurate. We have conversations. I talk to Tom. Chip talks to Tom regularly. I mean, we have a tremendous asset, and so and we all get along well, and we respect each other, and so we just talk, about life and football and whatever it comes, and he has great insight. So we're lucky to have him as an owner.
Yeah, I don't listen to him either. There's no difference between him. And I'll tell you who else I ain't listening to. Big, fat, stupid Marcus Spears, the big stupid. Here he is.
I hate it. It's abhorrent for me, for his job. I love it for his team. You 5% owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Sit wherever the hell you want to sit at the game. If you want to be on the sideline with a headset on, go be on the sideline with a headset.
The Colts owner is.
This should not happen with him being a commentator of NFL football games. It actually questions the integrity of the NFL. Now, teams have to be smart and not divulge information when he's on a call, because at some point the Raiders are going to play the teams that he's sitting in on these meetings. And I don't know if anybody knows, and you know this, there's information shared when you have these pre-production meetings for games. There's plans that coaches have. There's guys that they tell you to be on the lookout for how we'll use them. So I hate it from that standpoint, which is why the league tried to implement things prior to this becoming an issue with Tom Brady being part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Stephen A., so Jerry Jones go sit in on a Giants meeting because he about to call the game. Y'all good with it?
No.
So why are we? What's the difference?
Listen.
How stupid is he? Is that DeMarcus Ware, DeMarcus Spears? Who is this guy? Is that Spears? How stupid is he? They're not letting him sit into meetings, you idiot. And I guarantee you Stephen A. Smith's too racist to say what I just said. Look, you idiot, what's wrong with you? I mean, how dumb are you? Is that Ware or Spears? Is that a guy named Spears, or is that, does he not know? I mean, is he that dumb? I mean, let me read this to you again. I don't know what to tell you, son. Marcus Spears. I mean, how dumb are you? He is restricted, no attendance at other teams' practices or facilities. Excluded from production meetings, you idiot. How do you get on there and go and how does DeMarcus Spears or Marcus Spears or whatever this clown's name is, how does he not know? And he gets up there. This is it's just sad. I'll tell you, he's lazy. I can really tell you the truth, but I think maybe that's pushing it too far. But if you really want to know, there are a lot of guys at ESPN that can't get in that seat that would have known that rule. And there's a lot of reasons that fat guy is in that seat. No, it just pisses me off because he does. Let me read it to you. Was restricted. Recently, they eased some of those restrictions. Great. But he can't go into production meetings. And let me say something else to you, son. If I'm the coach and I know Tom Brady is there, I'm not saying shit. Like, people act because they got to get on stupid shows and they're stupid people and they're making a little money and people see them in the airport and they go, hey, big swag. Okay, great. But people aren't morons. Like, coaches know that guy works for them and they'll joke, hey, Tom, I can't give you nothing. I mean, so you might as well leave. Hey, tell Tom don't even come. I mean, just because you are an announcer, this is what I always felt as a coach, and then I always felt this way as an announcer. Just because you are an announcer doesn't mean you get free reign when you come into the building. Hey, man, I want to talk to that guy. Dick Vitale used to come into Assembly Hall. He's a great guy, but he would never, hey, Danny, no, it was always, hey, where's Bobby? Where's Bobby? Where's Bobby? Talking about Bobby Knight, he didn't care about us. We were minions. So if Bobby Knight went that way, all of us assist, hey, Coach, he just went that way. You don't have to kiss the ass of somebody. Hey, no, I ain't talking to Brady. What's hard? I'm appalled. It's abhorrent. Hey, learn new words. Good for him. It's just stupid. Like, I don't mind. Call somebody. I get it. You got to rant. And this is why our show's the greatest show there is, because we have basis for things. Call a guy. Call the Chargers. Hey, Harbaugh, did you give anything up? Did you feel like you could give anything up to Tom Brady? No. No, what am I, an idiot? I mean, I get it. In the Marcus Spears world, everybody he deals with is a psychotic idiot. I get it. I understand it. But damn, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. But no. Hey, Tom, I'm not giving y'all shit. I mean, if you guys want to talk about lunch, I'll talk about lunch. But you work for them. There's no chance. You talk to those guys. There's no chance I'm giving you anything because we play the Raiders down the road. So you can either leave, stay, and I ain't saying nothing other than what I'm having for lunch. Up to you, man. And if a coach doesn't have the balls to do that, what's Brady going to do? Oh, I'm Tom Brady. Tom Brady looks sick, gaunt, and he's a rotten human being. So what's he going to do, criticize you on TV? Good. Nobody pays attention to Tom Brady's announcing. You tell me, what game did Tom Brady do the other day? Tell me. I can't. And I watched all of them. Today we're showing stupid, and I like it. It's one of the dumber points that a guy has ever made. You act like coaches don't know. Like if your dumb fat ass knows that on a ridiculous show on ESPN, Marcus Spears, I'm guessing the coaching staff does too. Now, would I be pissed? Yes. I'd be pissed that I have to have a production meeting and say, get the fuck out. That would piss me off because you're wasting my time. Because he would stand up, shake hands, and, everybody go, oh, it's Tom Brady. He would make a scene, I'm sure, because he seems to be a little drama queen, Tom Brady. That would, but I would have handled it before. I'd have said, no, you're not coming in here. Not happening. Sorry. Nope. You can come in, or you can come in, but we're just going to talk about sandwiches. And so are my other coaches. And if one of my coaches is dumb enough to give up anything, he's getting fired. It's that simple. I'm trying to win. I know you're loving the show because I'm on one today. Do yourself a favor. Do what most do. Go to youtube.com/@don't@me with Dan Dakich. Like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never miss any of our great content. Man, oh man, I applaud the effort. I do. I applaud the effort. But you got to get beyond the press conference. It's like when a team hires a guy. Like I remember Charlie Weiss got hired at Notre Dame. And the world was saying, God, this is a great hire. Offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick, Notre Dame guy, lived in the dorm. And then I watched the press conference, and I watched it at a Dick's Sporting Goods in Toledo, Ohio. And I turned to my then wife and say, I'll bet you $5,000 that guy gets fired within the first 3 to 5 years of his job and is a complete and utter failure. Why? Because you can't try to win the press conference. There's no just trying to, we're going to win the press conference. Well, that's what LeBron James did. LeBron James won the press conference with his phony I Promise school. He dressed in a suit, wore $1,000, $5,000 sunglasses. Why do I say phony? Well, we got more data from the Ohio Department of Education, and the results are complete ass. Remember a few years ago, a guy got shot outside. Just 2 out of 75 children, that's 2.75, I Promise 7th graders passed the state math test in 24-25. State average is 50. Think about that. You won the press conference, but you didn't hire the right people. My guess would be, we got a lot of DEI in that building. Well, African-American kids need African-American. No, they don't. They need a great educator, white or black, green or purple, Asian, whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. How bad are the test scores? Most grades at the school have proficiency rate in single digits to teens. Those percentages you are routinely 40 to 50 points below the Ohio State averages. It's not just math that James's fraud of a school are struggling in. 5 out of 75 sixth graders passed the English language arts test. 6.6%. State average 54.5. Not a single grade is close to statewide proficiency levels. The school as a whole is firmly ranked as a one-star school in achievement. It's as low as you can get in Ohio. I mean, they're not going to make you a zero-star school, although you should. Nah, these kids are doing an unbelievable job, James said. Again, more bullshit, more gaslighting. Better than we all expected when we first started. People knew I was opening a school for kids. Now people are going to really understand the lack of education they had before they came to our school. No, LeBron, what they are understanding is they are getting less education as they come to your school, and that's sad. People are finally going to understand what goes on behind our doors. Really? Okay, what goes on? What goes on? I'll hang up and listen. What goes on is that kids aren't being educated. That's on you. If you're going to be the face and you're going to tell us, then get it done. I can give you what to do, but it would be very stereotypical. And it would be probably racist in some eyes, but I'm not. I'm not running the school. Bold move. Let's see how it plays out. Memphis head coach, Ryan Silverfield appeared on his coach's radio show and took a shot, serious shot. He's not wrong at Georgia football program and Kirby Smart over the program's insane amount of speeding violations when discussing his own standards. Here is old Coach Silverfield.
Sure, and we do this all the time, but generally on a Sunday afternoon when we meet with the team, we do two things, and we always start off with not our standard. We always start with the negative, and the not our standard is Georgia wide receiver, right, arrested for driving 900 miles per hour over the speed limit, right? That's a weekly occurrence. So that's one of those, like, we'll show.
No, he ain't wrong. I mean, Kirby Smart can get pissed, but they're a national embarrassment. You know, they can win football games. They can't. They can win football games, and that's great. But the truth of the matter is Georgia's a freaking national embarrassment, and Kirby Smart doesn't care. Or he's just weak. I don't think he's weak. I think he's both. I mean, ain't that hard to stop that stuff? It really isn't. Since the 2023 offseason, listen to this, 32. This is since 2023. We're still in 2025. 32 Georgia football players or personnel have been arrested or received citations for driving-related offensive. I usually don't get bent out of shape about this because, I don't know, I probably got 10 tickets in my lifetime, been stopped over 100 times. People know who I am in Indiana. They let me off. I had an uncle who was a judge. He used to get tickets, give it to him, and they went away. What the hell? Can't help you. Fayetteville, Arkansas AD, Hunter Yankin, whatever, gave some eyebrow-raising comments when he stated his belief that the university is positioned to compete for titles in basketball and baseball, but not football. Is it time to bring in Gruden? Let's hear.
Win a national championship in men's basketball moving forward. We know we're set up to win a national championship in baseball moving forward, and I think we're set up in several other sports to win a national championship. Football, where we are right now, we're not set up to win a national championship. I'll just be brutally honest with that. But I think we're set up to compete really well in the Southeastern Conference, especially now with the new revenue sharing model.
You feel that's directly related to directly related to finances. That's what you feel when you say that, correct?
Absolutely. It's directly related to finances and what programs were able to invest in their teams in the past.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. That's fun. You're Sam Pittman. You know, you got fan. Now, the coach, the AD actually did Pittman a favor. He gave him an excuse. Here's what Pittman had to say back about being on the hot seat. Look, most everything a guy brings on him, he brings on himself. Most things that come out, you earn it. Now, you may disagree with some of it and all that, but I've earned it. I have. To get off that, we got to win enough games. He's right. I get the impression watching Pittman in that SEC show, he really wants to win, but you know what? I got a pretty good buyout. Adios. Does friend of the show, Danny Cannell, make a fair point when discussing the abysmal start of Texas quarterback, Arch Manning. Could Arch Manning be dealing with a similar condition? Oh, wait a second. Hold on. I missed a half of it. I'm reading. Cannell made reference to two athletes that face similar hype and expectations only to eventually become known as major busts, Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons. Now, Ben Simmons, I went on to ESPN when he was Player of the Year and said why he wouldn't make it in the NBA because he couldn't shoot. Fultz, I didn't pay attention to. That was such a wacky first pick. I don't even know what to tell you. Here's Danny Cannell on Arch Manning's struggles.
There's almost like a Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons something going on where those guys were all everything. They were supposed to be incredible, and then something happened, and it's mostly mental, where I was wondering how Arch Manning would handle the hysteria that was around him. And he downplayed everything. But to me, this is very much a quarterback, which his confidence is completely shot. And I feel like it's impacting his mechanics, which is the similarity I would compare to both of those guys. Because at one time, their mechanics looked good. At one time, they could make the shots. We've seen Arch make all the throws, and even there were times in that game when he had a couple of nice throws, but there are way too many stretches where it is as Sark was trying to get his confidence up by calling easy routes, quick hitches, crossing routes, and he was missing them. There is something, this is a greater problem that Sark has 1 week to figure out, and I don't know if you can solve it in 1 week. He has got to get Arch to play more free, to get him to go out there and play with confidence. But the only way to do that is to play your way out of it. And he's got to do that, or else when they get to the meat of their SEC schedule, this is going to be a major problem for Texas.
I think it already is a major problem. I would disagree with the – I get the point. I agree with the point, but I disagree with the mechanics. Ben Simmons had terrible mechanics. I don't know about Fultz. But Ben Simmons was never going to be able to shoot the ball. Arch Manning, I believe, probably had good mechanics. He just doesn't have that pop. There's nothing special. And to Danny's point, I think he's absolutely right. If you lose confidence on top of that, look, here's one of the things. Again, I go back to what I talked about, the big stupid Spears. These things don't happen in a vacuum. You walk in the locker room and you know how players are looking at you, or you think you know how players are looking at you. And the truth of the matter is, they ain't looking at you with love and respect. They're looking at you like, yo, dude. Either they're looking at you like, yeah, I knew it all along. I mean, this dude was overhyped and we're tired of the whole family. Or they're looking at him like, man, I feel bad for this guy. Let's get him going. I don't know. I'm not sure which way I would be. I will tell you how I absolutely would be, though. If I were the backup quarterback, I'd root for his ass to fail. Yeah, I know he's a bad teammate. But every time a guy went in ahead of me, I hoped he turned it over 3 times. Absolutely. Hell, Knight took me out in a legendary game where we beat Michael Jordan. Marty Simmons went in, and I couldn't wait for Marty to throw it away. He did once. I said, one more, and I'm going back in. One more. He traveled. I went back in, never came out. Shoot, if I'm the backup quarterback, I'm like, I told my dad that guy wasn't that good. But old Sark got to hang on. I guess everybody's afraid of old Arch and Cooper and all them guys. Oh, frick off. All right, we come back. I want to get, though, I do, before we get to What the Hell Wednesday, we come back. I got to get to Cash Patel, man. Cash Patel, what do they call it? BTA, belt to ass on, man, America's most punchable douchebag, Adam Schiff. We'll be right back. Cash Patel. This is a great show. What the Hell Wednesday is coming up, and you know I'm digging it. I am. I'm really digging it. But before that, Adam Schiff, who, man, he's just creepy. He reminds me of the dudes I worked at ESPN, Mike Schiffman. Just kind of like creepy. You're like, okay, I don't want to be in this guy's office. Anyway, so Cash Patel is in front of a Senate hearing, and all the little Democrats want a piece. This didn't work out really good. Patel was not having it. Blasted Adam Schiff, labeling him the biggest fraud to ever sit in the U.S. Senate. This is good stuff. Here it is.
People believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
Not in the weeds.
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform and
the
combating the
most significant
weaponization of
witness,
intelligence
Epstein
by the likes of you.
cover-up
And we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform.
Point of order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
You said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Boy, is he right. That is so good. I love it. I want to give him a hand. He just ripped these people. You can't sit there and take it. Just because some little white douchebag has a D or whatever, R in front of him and is in Congress. You know, so, there's no respect just because you get elected by a bunch of idiots. I mean, you're supposed to respect Karen Bass of L.A. because a bunch of dumbasses voted her in? Screw that. We ain't doing that. That's not what we do. Patel shut down really the dumbest. Maisie Hirono is from Hawaii, and she confirmed what we've all been saying. Women are biologically not the same as men. Interesting discovery. Here is Senator Maisie Hirono. Man, is she stupid. Probably drunk. Here she is.
One question I had is, that you are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents
So
are
are
being
you requiring
appropriately
these
assessed.
kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy
Excuse me,
and put
the
him in
reason I
handcuffs, you
ask-
better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing
Anyway,
one pull-up
Mr.
is not
Patel,
harsh,
I
and there are
am
always
gravely
medical
concerned.
exemptions to that.
Is she drunk? Is she real? Is she drunk? I think she's drunk. Maisie, baby, get off the sauce. Somebody actually elected her. Wow. Again, just because you have a D or an R in front of your name because a bunch of idiots elected you, doesn't mean you're supposed to be respected. You earn respect, not by being, well, women can't do pull-ups. Wait a second. What was that black lady's name that got in front and couldn't say what a woman was? Kira Huda Brown or something like that? She couldn't even say. All you women out there, or all you dudes actually, more dudes than women out there, kept telling me, no. Women are just as strong as men. All right. Okay. She begs to differ. All right, let's do it, Davey. What the hell? Bringing you the craziest shit that you're going to see all week on the internet. Let's do it. Oh! Let me see that one again, would you? Let's have a look here, Davey. What are we doing on this one here? Oh, gosh, I saw that online.
Pogo stick to the net,
You know,
Dan.
it is amazing how guys always go to the nads. When I was in college, we had a party at our apartment, a preseason party. A bunch of people were there. My roommate, 7'2", 240, Uwe Blop, came up behind me and popped me right in the balls. Right in the balls. We were outside. I got so pissed, I tackled him on top of my little Chevette and started beating the shit out of him. Now, thank God there weren't cameras. Thank God there weren't, you know. But we rolled off the car, started laughing. I went to church the next day, came home. He was up. I stripped down naked and jumped on him. We became friends. But guys just go to the balls. We just go to the balls, and I don't get it. All right, what we got here? What's next? Yeah, that had to hurt. I don't even know if that's a dude. Looks like a dude. I don't know. Looks like a dude. What's next? A little bowling. Yeah. All right. It's going to come back. Okay. Oh, God. That's bowling for balls. I ain't mad at that. That's a hell of a shot, David. I ain't mad at that shot.
I'm curious how many takes that took,
like
Dan.
Good point. I never think about that. I always think, I bet she's wearing a cup too, right? I mean, this is all staged. You're not sitting there hoping to get a bowling ball to the nuts and not be prepared, right? I had to.
It's like the new version.
You're right. I didn't.
Yeah, new version of Dude Perfect.
Davey, I didn't even think about how many takes it took. That's a good point. That didn't happen. We just didn't do that once. Next. Oh, boy.
Don't play your phone. Don't play your phone. Damn it. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
There's a reason they're in the water and you're not. So let them leave you alone out of the water and you leave them alone in the water. That would be terrifying. Like, I know you're bigger than that shark, but that would be terrifying. Your hand's in there. You don't know if something's going to get bit off. And you know what? You're teetering a little bit. You can go ass over teacups into the water. That wouldn't be good.
It's just not
that
worth
wouldn't
the
be
risk,
good
Dan.
at all, Davey.
No, I mean,
huh?
I said it's just not worth the risk. My dad lost a finger, not because, well, part of a finger. It was a beast, not like that kind of beast, more of like a motorcycle itself. But when you look at that, I mean, I don't understand why you're even going to risk it.
Yeah, I mean, get a net, bring it in, take a look. Next. That's easy, isn't it? I think. Seems like. Oh, this is bad. Oh, my God. Oh, man. Where was this? Oh, God.
That was in Saudi Arabia, Dan.
That's lucky. Imagine if that would have fallen the other way. Oh, my. That's like my biggest. That's why I don't go on those things. Now, everybody tells me how safe they are. My family, we had season tickets to America's greatest roller coaster park, Cedar Point. And I'd go if it went this way and I'm fine, but I wasn't going all, Saudi Arabia, get your shit together, would you please? Next. Get it together, Davey. What are they doing? That's Davey.
Okay?
Come on.
Hey, you okay? I'm actually fine.
You stood right up.
The fuck, bro?
That's impressive.
Man, that's like that wide with trouble there and trouble there. That ain't good. But he did. You're right, Davey. He just stood right up.
I don't know how you don't break something in that situation.
Maybe he did, and he didn't know it. You know, like when you're my age, here's what you do. I fall in different ways, going up hills and stuff. And if you fall and it hurts, you sit there, and I move my fingers and my toes, and all right, I'm okay. And then you later on, your back's killing you, you're cut up, whatever. But I'm with you. I don't know, man. All right. Well, Tom Luginbill is going to join us coming up in a few. But yesterday, we got Stephen A. Smith and Clay Travis debating various subjects, one of which was Clay talking about the importance of free speech post-Charlie Kirk assassination.
Whether you agree with me, whether you agree with him, whether you think both of us are morons, violence is never the answer. And good-spirited debate, going after people for things you agree or disagree with, is the foundation, I think, of an American republic and our democracy. I think free speech is the most important right that we have. but it can never extend into violence. And I hope that a lot of the young people out there, particularly that were struck by Charlie Kirk's public forums, I hope that they don't take the lesson that violence is the answer. And certainly, if you're as old as me or Stephen A., you should know better. But if you don't, let that be I think, a stringent and sterling call for civility when it comes to that.
Boy, is he right. Yeah, he really is. Look, he is 1,000% right. There is no need for violence. You can get mad. There's a couple other clips here, one of which I care less whether Stephen A. Smith's going to run for office. How serious should sports teams take Donald Trump was discussed.
How seriously should sports leagues take President Trump?
Very. I mean, he's the president of the United States. I think you should take him seriously on everything. Now, kickoff rules, the president is a real sports fan. Let me say that. I think lots of politicians pretend to be sports fans, and then they come out and they can't pronounce guys' names, and they don't know the basics of being fans. President's a real fan. He likes Stephen A. He watches ESPN. He watches Outkick show. Like, he is a real sports fan. I think the president is very conscious of symbolic issues. And Alcatraz, example. I think the idea of turning Alcatraz into a prison doesn't make a ton of sense given the cost and the number of people that you could hold there. Alligator Alcatraz or whatever the heck it's called. Symbolically, these things also, for him, resonate. And I think what he sees is, and this is what I've come to see, because I used to be a Democrat. I used to vote.
You used to vote for Obama.
I voted for Obama back in the day. And then the Democrats went crazy, and I feel like I didn't move at all. But I think when you look at the Trump angle on the Redskins, for instance, I think he sees this as progressives always demand more change, right? So if Stephen A. and I were reasonable people, and I think we are, and we added 3 or 4 other reasonable people, and we said, hey, we're just going to negotiate nicknames once and for all, and we're going to close the door on this forever. I don't think people on the left would ever be happy, because you change Redskins, you change Indians, what do? Kansas City Chiefs can't do the tomahawk chop at the Atlanta Braves. Is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Is that an offensive mascot that we have to change as well? You constantly are finding reasons to be offended. And I think what the president is saying is we have to go back to an era where you're not always offended.
He's right. I mean, the kickoff stuff was funny to me. I mean, look, he is a real sports fan. All right, speaking of kickoffs, Tom Luginbill, ESPN's best. I wonder if Tom tried to say, hey, I'm going on a Fox News show. I guess this is a Fox News show. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll be right back. Now that I think about it, what are you going to do? I don't know.
Football's finally back. So's the hard-hitting grit.
Tom Luginbill, ESPN's finest. You watch him, you know him, you love him. He'll be in studio this weekend. He's calling, who'd you say, Memphis, Charlotte on Thursday? No, not Memphis. Memphis getting ready to get its ass kicked. Yeah,
Rice, Charlotte. Yeah.
Hey, that Memphis coach, he didn't hold back. Did you see what he said about the Georgia program? I love it. Let's go, Tom.
Driving 900 miles an hour. Oh, man. I'm telling you what.
How good is Georgia?
Well, what I will say about them is I think they're pretty good. I do think that they would tell you that they've got a lot of work to do in the defensive back end, because there were plays to be made in the secondary where guys were in position, they're in phase, they don't make the plays, right? But I will say the number one thing I was most impressed with is Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, realizing and recognizing that utilizing Gunnar Stockton as a runner creates a lot of problems for people. And, when was the last time we saw that at Georgia? When was the last time you lined up and played Georgia and you were worried about quarterback run? You were worried about having to deal with the quarterback out of the pocket. We just haven't seen that. And I thought he made huge strides for a guy that hasn't played a lot of football, right? He made huge strides on the road. That throw that he dropped in on the deep ball late that put them ahead, that was a world-class throw. And so I think what they did is they were on cruise control because they just flat out knew they're better than who they were playing. And you hate to see that as a coach or a team. And then when it got real, they got real.
You do hate to see that, and that tells you
It's
talent
the worst,
level.
right?
Yeah, you do. It's terrible. You know, and it happens. Do you have kids? I never asked you this. Do you have kids?
I do. I have a redshirt freshman who is a long snapper at Eastern Kentucky University. It's my son. And my daughter is exactly 2 years younger and just started her senior year in high school. So I got a boy and a girl.
All right. So my wife and I, my second wife, she had a daughter that played baseball in college, a son that played football in college. My son played basketball, and my daughter was a sorority girl at Indiana. And we're sitting there having a beer at a bar watching the Tennessee kicker go out there, and simultaneously we looked at each other and said, thank God we're not the parent of this kicker. I can't, honest to God, when my son shot free throws late for Ohio State in an NCAA tournament game, I wanted to crap myself. But a kicker's dad, maybe a long snapper's dad too, that ain't good. That's tough duty, pal.
Well, let me tell you something. I sat 3 weeks ago and watched my son's opener, and it's his first ever college game on the road at Louisville. And I'm going, please don't snap it over his head. Please don't snap it over his head. And you're just sitting there, and it's just, it is tense, and it consumes you, right? And that poor kicker, I don't know if you've seen any of the screenshots of him. He looks like he's 11 years old.
I know.
Man. And you know, the shame of that is either team could have won that game. Both teams played well. Both teams showed a lot of promise. And as a coaching staff, when you're going to have a game and an opponent like that, you're sitting in the staff room at some point during the week going, guys, let's just get to the fourth quarter. Let's be in a position to win it in the fourth quarter. And they did it, and they were. And then the kid misses it. You just feel terrible for the kid, his parents. And that's such a lonely position, man.
Hey, I met do you know the Crowfoots? They're like legendary long snappers. Every kid.
I know who they are, yeah.
People. Yeah, I was with Urban, and we were on a boat with them, and he's like, yeah, we taught our son to long snap in the hallway of our house, and he was talking about the stress, and yeah, I forgot. I mean, it's the same thing with you. All right, let's get it. Oh, it's terrible. Honest to God, we both looked at each other, and I forgot about the holder. God dang, the holder. Like, oh man,
Dan, I told my son when my son was a defensive lineman, when I had to have the conversation with him that you're never going to be big enough, so you need to start long snapping if you want to play college football. And at first he fought it and he pushed back. And I said to him, I said, son, the bus never leaves without the long snapper.
That's right.
So just understand, if you want to do this, there's always a place to do it.
That is so true. Hey, man, the long snapper's drunk. He's in the jail cell. You only got one on a team. Hey, man, hey, man, you guys long snap? Hell no, I ain't doing that. Hell no, I'm not doing that.
I know.
Hey, it's crazy. Hey, Tommy, what's the week 3, good or bad? Biggest surprise to you?
I think probably the biggest surprise to me is how Florida has played football. You know, when you watched the end of the season last year, that last 4 or 5 games, when they beat Ole Miss and they beat LSU and they were rolling, and you're going, oh boy, this entire team's coming back, right? You had the freshman quarterback, you had the freshman tailback, a loaded defense. You know, Florida this year has only given up 2 touchdowns in 3 weeks on defense. 2. Like, whatever it is that they are doing offensively, I can't fathom it. That would be one, and my 1A is Clemson. My 1A is Clemson. Clemson looks like 2023 Clemson. The quarterback's indecisive, not anticipating throws, holding onto the ball, doesn't look like he trusts anything. They've regressed. And they, too, were a team at the end of last year, started rolling, and Cade Klubnik's throwing darts and doing, and you're going, wow, okay, they got everybody back, too. And that team has woefully underperformed, especially when you consider their skill level and their talent level.
Is this set up like Clemson, maybe Florida, Notre Dame certainly. Is this set up for high drama late in the year? 2 teams, 2 lost teams, that kind of thing. Is this, everybody always says in college football, you better lose early, not late. Or does it kind of eliminate them as, teams are going to keep winning and they've lost a couple?
Well, if you look at it from Notre Dame's perspective, their problem is they don't have a conference to win. So not only do they have to run the table, all right, and they can't, hey, listen, NC State's pretty good. Like, there's a couple of teams on that schedule you're going, I don't know. So I think that with them, they have zero margin for error. In Clemson's case, they've now lost a conference game. So how could that impact them getting in potentially into the conference championship game? So that's, yet to be determined. I do think the threshold is probably 2 losses once again. And maybe it's not. I could be out of my tree there. I will say this, and a lot of people are on Notre Dame's tail right now. A lot of teams didn't have to play Miami and Texas A&M in the first 2 weeks.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
What would potentially have you looked at Penn State's first 3 weeks? Give me a freaking break. I mean, come on, man.
Indiana.
Right. Yeah. Same thing. And so, who you play matters, where you play, and when you play them matters. If you happen to catch a team and they haven't figured it out yet, and you catch them early, and then all of a sudden that team 8 weeks from now is a different team, that matters. And so, we'll see where it goes from here. I think that what we've seen so much of the first 3 weeks, Dan, is because of the transactional nature of the sport, we've seen the talent gap lessened and close a little bit, where you're going to be in competitive games, whereas 10 years ago with a certain opponent might not have been at any level of a competitive game.
I noticed you didn't say Arch Manning struggles as one of your surprises. Can I read something into that?
No, I just feel like if his name was Arch Smith or Arch Johnson, we're not having the same scrutiny and the same discussion. We're just saying, hey, new quarterback, hasn't played a lot of football, and let's see how it comes around. Now, I will say this. Now, I went back and I watched him, and I watched the misses last week. So if anybody's going to gripe about how bad the misses are, not that he's 11 to 25 or whatever. Okay, great. But we're talking about routine level throws that have to be made routinely. That's what I'm struggling with. Now, I'm not making excuses for him, but this is a team right now that doesn't have their top 2 tailbacks. Their center's hurt. They lost a first rounder at wideout. They lost a first rounder in the offensive line. They had to replace multiple offensive linemen. And a quarterback's best friend, especially when you're young, is a run game. And right now, they don't have that to fall back on. And so do I think he's going to be fine? Yeah, I do. Where my biggest concern with him isn't necessarily the misses or the low completion percent. He's got to eliminate the hero ball element. Live to play the next down. It's okay with throwing it in the 6th row and playing 2nd and 10. You're creating potential negatives where there don't need to be any. And that's going to come through growth, and it's going to come through maturity, and it's going to come through, most importantly, experience. So are we all disappointed in how he's performed so far? Yes. Is it an unattainable expectation level that nobody else in college football has to adhere to? Probably so.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Hey, you have a JUCO background.
Yeah.
Additional year, Pavia is trying to get an extra year. Where are you at with that?
Well, I want my 2 years. I can still throw the rock around, brother. I mean, give me my 2 years back. I'll go out there at 51 years old and try to play for somebody. I don't blame him, man. Don't ever leave. Here's the deal. Here's the deal with him. Unless he goes out and he gets into some world-class professional life that affords him the opportunity to make hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars, a lot of these guys playing college football right now are going to be in for a rude awakening when it's over. And then they're going to go into the job pool, and you don't have NIL, right? You don't have thousands of dollars coming your way just because you play college football. I'd play for as long as they let me. He's going to be collecting Social Security before it's done.
What'd you think of him betting his mom on a date the other day?
Listen, I love it. It made for great TV. My man Cole Kubelik was all over it. And of all people, he was so deadpanned on the sideline. I loved Theo Vaughn and that whole entire deal. It reminded me, do you remember several years back with the BYU broadcast and Zach Wilson's mom?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah. There is a basketball coach, a very successful one in the Big Ten. And I was doing a game sitting the day before at practice with our producer, Bart Fox.
I know Bart.
Bart Scotty Johnson and I were talking about that, about Zach Wilson's mom and about Jake Fromm's mom. And the coach happened to be walking past us, and he heard us talking about their mom. He turned around. Oh, my God, did you see them? You know what I mean? Right in the middle of their practice. He turns around. He goes, Double D. Could you believe that? Unbelievable. So, yes, I am a big fan. Let's just call it the mom shot. Take your mom shot on a broadcast, big dog.
Credit the directors. Credit the directors. Yes. They're finding it.
Yes. It used to be, this is when Harry Carey first started. Arnie Harris, the director, instead of that seventh inning stretch in Chicago, they used to pan hot girls. So the camera would go to a hot girl, and Harry Carey would make some sexist comment, and, it was great. Look, it's biology. Leave us alone. It's simply biology. All right.
We're simple creatures, Dan. Simple creatures.
My wife says it all the time. Men are so damn easy. They're so simple. You're just, I told her yesterday. She said it. I said, we just moved in a new house. We're doing all. She said, how about I just give you a paintbrush and put you in the garage? I said, perfect. That's sweet. You figure out all the decorations. This is an accent wall. Hey, I don't know enough other than Luke Altmaier and other. I know I'm a big fan of Bielema.
Yeah.
Illinois coming into Indiana, 7:30, NBC. I think it's the biggest game since 1987, Indiana-Michigan, that I actually rushed the field for because my mom and I don't know what the hell. But anyway, what's Illinois got? What's Indiana got? What do you see out of this game?
Well, listen, the game's going to be won in the trenches on both sides of the football. You're going to have really good quarterback play. Illinois got all 5 starters back in the offensive line from that team a year ago. That might be one of the best outside of Miami offensive lines in college football. Gabe Yakis along the defensive front for Illinois is a handful off the edge. I don't think there's any question about that. I think when you have two teams that would like to run the football, that want to control the line of scrimmage, it comes down to quarterback play. All right, somebody's going to have to make a play. Is that going to be Fernando? Is that going to be Luke Altmaier? Two really good quarterbacks. I think I shared with you a few weeks back when we did the show. I really liked Fernando Mendoza. I was really high on him, even at Cal last week. So it's a bloody your nose type of contest, in my opinion. You might need to get a note from your mother to play in the game. And so I would expect the quarterback that is the most efficient, that does not put his teams in harm's way, and is the best decision maker in the red zone will be the winning quarterback of the winning team.
Yeah, that's interesting because here in Indy, we just had a situation where the coach of the Colts decided to be ridiculous in the red zone, so everybody's paying attention now to the red zone. Usually by this time of year, we're paying attention to who the three-point shooters are at IU and Purdue, but now we're worried about red zone offense and efficiency.
Well, listen, it's so funny. It's so funny, too, Dan. The more coaches I talk to, the more that will freely admit, hey, listen, offensive football has gotten so good, and they space you out so well that everybody's going to go up and down the field on each other from the 20 to the 20. The game now comes down to red zone efficiency on defense and red zone efficiency on offense. Are you kicking field goals or are you scoring touchdowns? Because everybody's going to move the ball. I remember in the old days, if you gave up 350 yards on defense, they were going to fire your ass, right? Now, you can give up 500 yards on defense and still win the game.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we see it. Hey, I do want to go back to a couple two-loss teams, Clemson, Texas, and Notre Dame. Texas got a mother of a schedule. Florida got a mother of a schedule. What are your thoughts? Clemson, Notre Dame, if you had to bet, which of these four teams would make the college football playoff, starting out, with a couple losses, 1 and 2?
I would probably...
Or none, maybe none.
It might be none. I would probably lean towards Clemson because they at least got the players to match up with anybody they're going to play going the rest of the way, right? And we talked about Notre Dame's margin of error is essentially 0. The gauntlet for Texas, unless they get just infinitely better on offense, it's going to be tough for them to come out of that thing unscathed. When you look at the ACC right now, the thing that's tough for Clemson is the quarterback play in that league is pretty dang good. And so every week they're going to play somebody that's got a guy on the other side. I saw NC State last week. That quarterback at NC State is special. I mean, CJ Bailey is going to be a great player. You see what Carson Beck's doing right now at Miami. They look to be the best team in the league, and they've got Florida coming in this week. If they win that, I mean, they might jump into the top 3 in the country. And so I don't know. I think it's too early to tell a little bit, but the problems we're seeing with Texas on offense and Clemson on offense are very concerning for a 10-week gauntlet that these guys got to still get through.
Other than, they giving up a play or two, does Notre Dame has anything about Notre Dame's actual play other than stupid scheduling? Does it concern you, or are they just good enough, just keep playing and you're going to win a ton of games?
Listen, I think they got good players, man. And to be honest with you, I think that quarterback's going to be a great player one day. I do too. I can see why they chose him. He's got grit and moxie, and he's poised for a guy that's played as little as he has. They haven't been able to just control the line of scrimmage, I think, the way they were expecting to coming into the season. And then they've been sloppy, right? They haven't played very clean football. And, you're up 10, the fourth quarter, you lose a game like that, and you're at home. It demoralizes you. But I do think they've got good enough players to win every game on their schedule. Will it be enough? I don't know. But they got to play cleaner. I think, we always hear it gets overly cliched, technique, fundamentals, turnovers, third down, but it's real. And now when talent becomes more equitable and you've got to, it's not going to be about the plays you make. It's going to be about the mistakes you avoid. Let the other team make the mistakes. Let them screw it up.
It's 2 quotes that stuck with me from Coach Schneid. Victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes, and stupid loses more than smart wins. We saw it. We saw it at Colts game. The guy jumps on the long snapper. Hey, I want to ask you, because your son is a long snapper. So you saw that game, right? They called it launching or whatever. I got to ask you. So the kid Luke Rhodes is the long snapper, and they asked him about it after the game, and he goes, "Look, I get hit in the back of the neck every play.
Yeah.
They call it sometimes. They don't call it sometimes." He goes, "Frankly, I was surprised they call it." What is going on there?
Half the time, I think the officials forget to look for it because it does happen all the time.
You're looking for it, though.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny you asked me this question because yesterday my son sends me a video clip from practice where he gets crushed. And he goes rolling over backward like a tumbleweed. And I said, "Why did you send me that?" He goes, "I thought you'd think it was funny." I'm like, "Toughen up, dude. What are you doing? You just got hammered after you snapped the ball. Like, what are we doing here?" But you're right. You're not supposed to touch him. You're not supposed to be able to make contact with him. But I was actually surprised at that one the other day in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw it, and, everybody tells me, that's a penalty. I thought maybe I was at the game. I wasn't looking at that. I just looked at, the dumbass 60-yard field goal that was 15 yards short, and everybody's screaming at Steichen. Like, for the last 2 or 3 plays, move the ball. And then all of a sudden I see Rhodes, and he's jumping up and down, and I'm like, all right, I know what this is, baby. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked, man. Last thing before I let you go. Real quick, thoughts on Ohio State and Michigan?
Listen, I think with Ohio State, you're going to see that quarterback just get better and better and better because the one thing he is doing is he's playing within himself. That's the difference between him and Arch Manning right now, is he's taking the plays that are there. He's not forcing plays. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. So I think Julian Sain's going to be fine. Michigan is interesting to me because what we saw from Bryce Underwood versus a quality football team on the road is kind of exactly what you should see out of a true freshman quarterback. And you rarely see a true freshman just go down into somebody else's backyard and light it up. He's going to have his struggles, and there are going to be more of them, but there's also going to be a lot of bright spots because he's so physically gifted, and he gives them a chance to do things that maybe another guy who's less gifted is capable of doing. So I think they're going to take their lumps with him for a little bit. Fortunately, in that league, if you're Michigan, you're not playing a John Mateer every week. I thought defensively, they're better than they played against Oklahoma. But when the quarterback's not a dynamic runner, that changes how you play defense. So that exposed them a little bit. They got to get better there if they have to play an athlete under center. But they're going to be, I think Michigan's improved, but I think Ohio State's got a chance to be really good when it's all said and done.
Do you agree with what Lou Holtz said on our show, and that is that, Big Ten's just okay, not great?
I really felt that way last year. I felt like there were 2 or 3 teams, and then everybody else was very, very average. And you know what? When you look at Penn State's schedule, we all know what we think they are or what we expect them to be. All right, but they've got to win the big one. Michigan's improved, but they're not the Michigan of 2 years ago, obviously. Wisconsin's down. Iowa is maybe average. Nebraska's Nebraska's improved. Michigan State's probably improved, but is anybody really good? I don't think so. Illinois, I think, might be pretty good, and I think Indiana's pretty good. Like, I would put Indiana and Illinois in the top 5 or 6 teams in the conference, the way they're playing.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana, how about this, Tom? The all-time record in Indiana in the history win streak at home is 11. Signetti's already at 11. He tied it. He's already tied it.
That is amazing. Already?
It's amazing. It's amazing both ways how bad Indiana's been over the years and how the guy came in with a home schedule that, Anyway, I always love talking to you, brother. Have a great weekend. Look forward to watching you. Can't wait. I can't wait for
man.
Saturdays,
Thanks.
man.
Appreciate you having me.
There he goes. Love having him. Kidding me? The great Tom Luginbill. I was going to say on the hotline. I'm so used to saying on the hotline on my other show, but Tom's great, man. I could talk to him all day. He may have other things to do. I don't know. But what do I got to do? I'm just sitting here having a chat. That's all. Hey, Aaron Torres is ready to join us. We'll come right back. Get that done with the great Aaron Torres next.
Football.
Hey, you hear him weekends in the evening after all the college football stuff is done on Saturdays. You got to go to Fox Sport Radio. Hear our friend Aaron Torres, also the Aaron Torres podcast. Absolutely fantastic. Aaron, nice enough to join us. You're in L.A. A lot of people, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people, a couple guys on this network, say that Deshaun Foster at UCLA was set up to fail. Where are you at with that?
I don't think he was set up to fail. I will say, like, in defense of him and the AD, who the AD is maybe even under more fire than he is, it's easy to forget this now. Chip Kelly left UCLA as the head coach in February of, I guess it was 2024, to go to Ohio State. And it's like, realistically, I don't think anybody's getting a great – I mean, listen, it was hard enough for Alabama to replace Nick Saban in the middle of January. Now add another month onto the calendar. You got to remember, the transfer portal's closed. Everybody's kind of got their roster set, so you're not getting a realistic coach. So living here, I don't think it's quite as bad as people make it seem from the outside. I think the fan issues, the fan apathy is real. But I think the right coach, I mean, listen, your alma mater is a perfect example, Dan. The right coach in basically any Big Ten or SEC job, the right coach, You give them a full portal cycle, whatever, they can turn things pretty quickly. So I think it'll be intriguing to see what happens with these UCLA Bruins here.
Yeah, to your point, a lot of people are pointing to Cignetti, but here's what Cignetti had that Deshaun Foster didn't have. He brought really good players from his previous school. He had a ready-made group that knew him. And, I get it. Okay, Foster needed to go, whatever. Okay, but he had a ready-made group. That's an interesting thing when you hire a head coach. Bringing guys with you that are good enough, pretty important.
Well, and, this is more of an Indiana conversation than a UCLA one. One of two things, well, really two things that are kind of tied together. I remember reading or listening to Cignetti's comments either when he took the job or when they started to have success last year. And he was like, yeah, I looked at this roster and I said half of my guys at James Madison could play here. And, he kind of specified we needed more size, speed, and athleticism. So he was either out-evaluating everybody at James Madison, which is obviously a possibility. I think they actually won 9 games even after he left. Or, part of it was probably Indiana was just in a really, really bad place talent-wise as well. But I think it is a very fair point, is you would know the numbers better than I do, but he brought, what was it, probably maybe not a dozen players, but what, about 7 or 8
Close
guys,
to.
and all of them? Yeah. And they were all impact guys.
Yeah,
so.
and all of them, yes, and all of them played well. Like, all of them, you know what? They all showed that they could play. It's one thing to bring your guys, and we're going to establish a culture and all that kind of stuff, but it's another thing to go, wait a second, these guys are good enough. You mentioned the Big Ten, so I'd love your perspective on this. I've had friends that when Purdue came open, well, nobody wants the Purdue job. Well, wait a second here. Hold on. Nobody's going to want the UCLA job. Hold on here. Whoa. This is the Big Ten. The Big Ten and the SEC rank right. There is nobody close. A lot of guys are going to want this job, even guys in established places. No, or am I off base on that?
No, I agree 100%. It's interesting. Earlier this week, Arkansas's AD is very random, but was doing a speaking tour. And he basically acknowledged, I don't think we can win in football right now. And I'm just like, listen, I know 99% of America doesn't care about Arkansas football. That's fine. I think half of Arkansas's fan base doesn't care about Arkansas football right now. They want your buddy John Gruden to come in and take over. But I only bring it up because, no AD in the Big Ten or the SEC should publicly be saying, we can't do this. No. If you're in the bottom of, certainly if you're in the group of 5, if you're in the bottom of the ACC where the money isn't the same, but you're making so much money at these schools. And I don't even remember the exact question that you asked me, Dan, but I don't think there is very much excuse for pretty much anybody basically in the Big Ten or the SEC essentially. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. When that guy made that statement at Arkansas, I'm thinking to myself, is that an endorsement, an excuse making for the coach, or is that this coach isn't generating enough money? And you're talking to different people. How important is it for the coach to generate revenue himself?
Okay, so this is an unbelievable question, and I think that to me was the shocking part of that Arkansas specific. So this is going to get a little nerdy college sports, but, it's a sports audience. I think you guys care. Yeah, right. I'm amazed, even smart people, right? So we have this thing called the House Settlement, which basically allows these schools to pay athletes up to $20.5 million, okay? Why I bring it up, there is not a hard cap of $20.5 million that athletes can be paid, but after you get past the $20.5 million, it has to be quote-unquote real NIL, which is, in theory, Arch Manning being on a commercial, Cooper Flagg being on a commercial, whatever. The only reason I bring it up is because I think there are some ADs that are like, well, we have $20.5 million to spend, so that's going to put us competitive with everybody. And it's like, it may, but your job doesn't end because you can pay $20.5 million to your athletes. The job actually just begins because now it's about going into these communities and finding quote unquote legitimate NIL opportunities for your athletes. And so long story short, I think that was what shocked me is that Arkansas has the $20.5 million to spend, but guess what? So does Alabama and Texas Texas A&M, whatever. Now it's on you to find other opportunities. So I don't think it's necessarily on the coach, but I do think it is one of many responsibilities outside of coaching that certainly if you have it, it certainly helps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I didn't ask Tom Luginbill this. He's the first guy that I haven't asked this in a while. I'll ask you, what's the most money you've heard a college athlete, whether it's, I don't care, basketball, baseball, whatever, football, what's the most money you've ever heard that somebody is actually making that you believe?
Okay, so, and this is where you have to differentiate between what a school pays and what an athlete can truly make off the field, off the court in quote-unquote NIL. And some of these, listen, there is quote-unquote NIL where your favorite school is just paying a dude to play football or basketball. Like, that is a reality. But we also have to acknowledge that there are athletes that have commercial appeal outside of the uniform. And so what I would tell you is this, there was all kinds of crazy numbers on Cooper Flagg last year. I don't know what the exact number is. I don't think it's crazy to assume that he made probably north of $10 million last year as a Duke basketball player. Now, that is not all paid from Duke, and I think that's the differentiator. The A.J. DeBonsa kid at BYU, there was reports that he could make upwards of $10 million. Well, it's like, that's not all coming from BYU. When he committed on First Take, he was wearing a Red Bull hat, okay? I don't think he was wearing a Red Bull hat because that was the first thing that he pulled out of his closet. I think, he probably has a very good agent who probably negotiated that, and he probably made more for that First Take appearance in a Red Bull hat than many of our listeners and me, and I can't speak for you, but he probably made more just wearing a Red Bull hat on First Take than many of us are going to make the entire calendar year. So I think that's where the differentiator is. But I do think it is important to note, there's a lot of guys that are just getting paid to play, whether we like it or not. But there are guys, and I'll say this really quick, too. The other one who I think made absurd money last year, Paige Beckers at UConn. You always tease me, Dan, but me being a UConn alum, I maybe have intel that some others don't. And I think, she was in national Gatorade commercials, whatever. So I would say I don't think it's crazy for an Arch Manning or one of these really elite basketball players to be making in the $10 million range as a college athlete. Again, not necessarily all paid by the school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've heard, the school's going to pay, Cooper Flagg $2 million. Well, if I'm the school, I'm also understanding he's going to make, as you said, $8 million somewhere else. And it makes sense. Do you think there is any part of fans that once the games start, Saturday or Thursday, whenever you start watching games, that gives two shits about how much a kid's making until after the game when they don't play well and people bitch about how much a guy's making? But do you think it's affected the fandom of people at all?
You literally took the words right out of my mouth. People only care when they feel like they lost a recruit or lost a game,
right?
Because the other team has something that they don't. And it's worth noting, and this is one, some of the highest paid guys, like Cooper Flagg didn't win a national championship last year in basketball. Florida, we don't have all the financials. I promise you they didn't have the highest paid roster in all of college basketball last year. And so I think that's an important note for fans. You still have to build a team. You still have to figure out a way to build camaraderie, keep everybody happy in the locker room, whatever. But nobody cares until, if I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of a good one off the top of my head, but
Arch
we know
Manning loses to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Arch Manning loses to Ohio State. I saw people saying, we're paying $8 million. He's on all these commercials. Screw it. You know what I mean?
Sure. And if Arch Manning throws 6 touchdowns this weekend, those boos will turn into cheers really quick. But yes, I have noticed that, and it's no different than the pre-NIL era when anytime you lost a recruit, oh my goodness, so-and-so just paid him. It's like, sometimes people don't want to go to your school. It's okay. But yes, it's generally, I find that people really care about other people's NIL after a tough loss. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we always did at Coach Knight. We'd have players saying, "No, I'm not playing for that maniac," and we'd tell Coach Knight, Michigan's paying. Nah, you know what I mean? Calhoun's paying. That's why, he didn't want to come, because we didn't want to tell him, look, well, we did tell him and he didn't listen, but look, man, you can't. All right. In college football right now, we're 3 games in. Some have played, Notre Dame's played a tough schedule. Indiana's played an easy one, whatever you want to say. Who's the best football team right now in college football?
It's so tough. I forget if I came on with you right after. Yeah, right after week 1, I thought it was LSU. Now it turns out LSU and Clemson might just stink. I'm trying to go through my head really quick. Listen, Georgia probably has the best win going on the road in the manner that they did.
Yeah.
Penn State hasn't played anybody. I'll tell you what. How about I just totally duck the question and say the winner of next week's Oregon-Penn State game? Because I'll say this really quick. I think Oregon's really good, but obviously that's the toughest place that they'll play all year. Counter to that, Penn State we think is good, but they haven't really played anybody. So I'll say the winner of Oregon-Penn State next week, but I don't think there's a clear cut, this team's running away from the field. I'll say this really quick. I do think it's interesting in the SEC, maybe more so than the Big Ten. The Big Ten is still a little top-heavy, but the SEC, it feels to me like it's almost like the NFL. And this isn't like, oh, my God, it's the best. It's not. I'm not hyping up the SEC, but it's like, you miss on a quarterback. You do this. There's something weird happens. You fall off real quick. And then, oh, by the way, you hit on a quarterback like Oklahoma and you go from 6-6 or 5-6 or whatever. I guess they were 6-7 last year. They might be the best team in that league. So I think that's kind of an interesting byproduct of this NIL portal era is how quickly, and that's obviously how we led the conversation with Indiana, how quickly you can flip things in a positive or things can go in a negative direction in such a short amount of time.
No, I agree. It's just amazing to me. And to your point about Deshaun Foster, if you don't have a couple cycles to rebuild a program and you're not bringing in 10 kids with you, hey, it's a tough deal. Last thing, you're on the West Coast. USC won a few games, not hearing much about them. Thoughts on USC football?
Well, I mean, this is, Lincoln Riley's dream come true is he wants to play absolutely nobody in the out-of-conference, and so now we have no perspective at all. One thing I'll say, two things on them is, one, his best teams at Oklahoma back in the day, we know about the Heisman Trophy winners. They ran the football really well, and they have not been able to run the ball at all. They're like top 20 in rush offense this year. Now, they've played essentially nobody. They did win on the road at Purdue last week in a Big Ten game. But that, to me, is a key. And the other thing, and this is a little bit like LSU too, second-year defensive coordinator. They made a big jump in year 1 last year, and it looks like they've made another big jump. The big question is, how much does all of this hold up? They have Michigan in a couple weeks, at Nebraska to open, I think late October, early November. So, and then obviously Ohio State and schools like that. So we're going to learn a lot of, or not Ohio State, excuse me. We're going to learn a lot about USC really quick. I'm not totally there yet just because I tried to convince myself last year, but the run game we think is pretty good. The defense is improved after improving last year. I think it's legitimate to say they could be like a 9-10 win team if things break right for them.
Yeah, the good thing about it, and I really liked this, last week I play golf and hang out with a bunch of Purdue and Indiana guys, and the Purdue guys were really excited, and rightfully so. They were going to the game against USC, and one of my buddies goes, Dan, it's so nice. We've seen Minnesota, Rutgers, Michigan State. USC's our guys' age, a historic program. It's awesome. We're going to go get to see USC and Ross 8. Yeah. It's freaking great. Hey, man, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on. Always great stuff.
By the way, speaking of last weekend, I saw your video about your house being vandalized. Cracked me up. First, I was terrified. I was very worried for you.
Right.
You said new neighborhood. And then it was just angry Purdue fans. I've dealt with a few of those in my day. So, best of luck. I know how quickly a neighborhood can turn once Purdue fans show up. So I'm praying for you, man, okay?
My son called me. He goes, hey, what happened to the house? I said, hey, dummy, did you watch the video? He's like, oh, no, I just saw we got vandalized. I said, no, man.
Well, that might be a bigger,
Aaron, thanks.
might be a bigger metaphor for society in general with,
right.
actually, watching videos and, maybe understanding what people are saying. Another conversation for another day. So, but I'm glad you're safe. Watch out for those Purdue fans. They'll get you, like I said.
Read the headline. Don't just read the headline. Read the story, not just the headline. Hey, there he goes. Check him out at the Aaron Torres podcast. We got to run. Hot Mic next.